Awesome. Hi everyone. Welcome to our monthly Ontario community call. We have these monthly to host a space to have conversations with each other, learn with each other, and learn from our great monthly speakers as well. Want to begin this session as well with a land acknowledgement. So I'm joining from Mi'kma'ki from Chibuktuk, out here on the East Coast, commonly known as Halifax, Nova Scotia. But I'd like to offer a kind of reflective land acknowledgement as well that one of our colleagues shared with us a few weeks ago. And so this is based off one that Dr. Tracy Lindbergh, a Cree scholar from Kelly Lake Cree Nation in BC, did when she visited the University of Saskatchewan in 2023. She acknowledged the tokenistic and often performative nature of land acknowledgements. And instead of the standard Treaty 6 land acknowledgement done in the region, she asked a series of questions. So these are kind of recollection of the questions that were asked during this land acknowledgement. So I'm going to ask the series of questions, and I'm going to kind of pause between each one just to offer a moment of reflection to have you all contemplate your personal answers to them. So, where did I wake up today? And whose land am I on? Who is not here in this room, in this region, and why? What are my responsibilities while I'm here? To living things, to non-living things, to all my relations. How can I be of service today? And finally, how can I promote and enact reconciliation in my region? And so I know that we are joining from mostly west of where I am, at least. So I want you to all take a moment and think about those questions and where you're situated. And if you want to, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. You can introduce your name, any group that you might be affiliated with, and then that traditional territory that you are residing upon. But yeah, really excited to get started and learn a little bit more from our speakers today. So I'll pass it to Michelina to introduce them.
Awesome. Thank you for that. The first time I heard that land acknowledgement, I really like it because it's so reflective and it really, brings attention to the real questions. And so thank you for sharing that hope. So yeah, today we are honored by Steven, who is a creative director, structural strategist, sound designer, curator, and radio host from Ecuador, and currently based in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Working at the heart of cultural industries, technology, and cutting-edge environmental practices, Steven works goes from sound design, film score, international creative industry development, commercial campaigns, cultural and political strategies. Steven has over a decade's worth of experience working with international music and digital art festivals, creative studios, advertising agencies, and production companies, breaking campaigns into the market. His expertise in industries development has allowed him to work as the international market coordinator at MUTEC, the world's leading international festival and forum dedicated to the dissemination and development of digital creativity in sound, music, and audiovisual art. Programmer and curator of professional content at Mudinal Montreal and Artist Lab with M for Montreal, and creative director and founder of Hinter Live, a live music web series filmed in national parks that has contributed to the reforestation of over 8,000 trees via the power of music, and sits in the jury of the Polaris Music Prize. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Steven. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Michelina. It's a pleasure to be here. I woke up today in Tiohtià:ke, and this beautiful territory here that has been my home the last 4 years. I am originally from Ecuador, and I moved here to Northern Turtle Island in 2019, first in Toronto and Toronto, and now I'm here in Tiohtià:ke, also known as Montreal. And I founded a company. My work is mostly in digital creativity, music, and international development. So I've been working for different music festivals in Canada, including Canadian Music Week, Indie Week, Mutech Montreal, and Mondial Montreal, doing all of the international development, finding artists to play in different festivals internationally, and having international festivals also coming into our territory to do business in the creative industries. And in my journey, when I started making music and working for festivals, and in my home country, motherland of Ecuador, I became friends with a lot of people that were working in the conflict with the oil companies in the Amazon. So being an artist myself, and a producer, a music producer, I understood that there was a role for us to take, even though we were not climate activists, but mostly like, musicians with a conscience, I would say. Because I can give that role of being an activist to the people really, really at the forefront of protecting land and water, especially women and indigenous women from all over the Americas, what we know the Americas now. So my work intersected climate action maybe 15 years ago. And it was a very beautiful experience that like really shaped my vision and the work that I do in the cultural world. You know, fast forward into 2024. I'm speaking to you right now here in Chochaque, in my new home in Canada, in the north. And we founded a company that wanted to also work at the intersection of climate action and culture. Also in a way for me to discover the great Canadian landscapes and the national parks and the region and the different nations that live here, alongside with digital creativity and music. So on 2021, me and my best friend, also from Ecuador, we founded a company with the idea of, well, in 2020, everybody knows what happened. The world stopped for a lot of people, including the live entertainment. So there were no shows, there were no venues, there were no cultural workers except for like some Zoom parties. I think everyone became like a Zoom master in the pandemic. And I remember going to some Zoom raves, and it was really, really awesome. And I was starting to think with my friends how we can work, what can we do? And having this background in environmental communications, with a lot of the people that I worked back in the territory of Ecuador with Amazon Frontlines, we decided to create a little pilot project. And this pilot project was to go into, like, to immerse ourselves in the forest, in the Great Canadian Forest, and basically put up a show for the birds and the bees, like no audience. And the outcome of these, live sessions that we recorded, that I'm going to show you in a minute, I wanted to like give back. If this land is going to give me this experience, if this land is going to allow me to play music openly, freely in a national park that has a lot of other nuances, because there's noise pollution, and there's a few things that you can and you cannot do in a national park. But to give back, and to give back to the community. And during those years also, like the forest fires in British Columbia and here in northern Quebec and northern Ontario starting to like get loose, and it was crazy. And so I thought, being new to this region and seeing this experience happening at the same time, we decided to partner with an organization that is based in Montreal and also in the US called One Tree Planted. And with this organization, we started a campaign for the reforestation of British Columbia. So each of our episodes has an economical and ecological impact that also comes with the intersectionality of like arts and culture funds, marketing campaigns, and working towards sustainability through the arts. So each of our shows planted 500 trees, and so far we've been planting over 8,000 trees with over 16 episodes of our series, nominated for Audiovisual Company of the Year by the Canadian Live Music Association. And, this came with like just two friends trying to make a difference. No big corporations, no big budget, nobody like really behind us, but community. So this is what I'm gonna share today. I'm gonna just share my screen first. And I'm gonna show you a little clip of what we do. Live Let me put this on full screen. For some reason, I cannot see full screen. I'm gonna do my best with this. Everyone can see like the screen as full as it gets. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. Something happened. I think my computer couldn't handle the sharing screen.
That's okay.
He booted. I was like, what happened? I thought I didn't have enough battery, but it's full. It was weird. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna may I continue?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
So the video you just saw is like a recap. I'm just gonna leave it there in case if it's but our site, I'm gonna share you like our site, Hinterlife. So this is a little bit of what I spoke you about. This artist. Can you see? Can everyone see? Yes? No?
Yes, we can see.
I removed everyone from my screen so I can have the full screen. So this is an artist from Montreal. Her name is Uri. She's a multi-instrumentalist, producer, nominated for the Polaris Music Awards, Music Prize, sorry. And this is our website. So our motto is music hidden in nature because we go to like very remote places. This session right here is at in south of Ottawa, actually, in the Thousand Island National Park. So as I mentioned a little bit, we will look to build a community that actively has an impact on climate emergency. And our campaign is to give back to nature. I'm gonna share you some of our results. So this is where we're at right now. We started at 0 and now we're 8,070 trees planted. A little bit of the story that I'm just mentioned. This is another session with Pierre Quenders. He was nominated for the Juno Award this year and a winner of the Polaris Music Prize. This is about the reforestation that we did in British Columbia. So I'm gonna try to share just one very quick clip that it's not gonna be from my computer, but because it seems like it's breaking. But I'll show you this one, the same with
The future of
uh,
your
so this is how every episode starts. So this is Sam Farafina, actually. This is an artist from Haiti, living in Montreal. DJ from the collective Moonshine. And this was also recorded at the national park, the Thousand Island National Park.
Yeah, we can't hear the audio. I don't think it's sharing audio, just for context.
Okay. I'll share the audio. So sorry.
No, that's okay.
The Zoom etiquette. But if that's the case, I want to really show you Uri. I think this one.
I wanna come to you. I just wanna be high with you. Take me to the top, bathe me in the pool. Just wanna feel higher and higher. You lay on the ground and keep forcing me down, down. When I'm choking all of this time.
So we recorded 16 of these episodes. You can see all of the artists here. We go from like Safia Nolan and Pom, Pierre Quenders, Uri. We also recorded some in the winter, which was very intense. So this is how every video starts: music hitting in nature, and each of the distribution of our videos plans free. So our goal is like our distribution of our artworks, we generate an impact on climate action. So this was recorded at
Welcome to the maze.
sound here and everything.
This is your first time here. I shall explain the rules.
And not only electronic music, but we also did like some singer-songwriters. Like this is an artist from Toronto. Here.
Tell me what you see when you look at me. 'Cause when I look at you, I see heaven.
Like she has all of these like
That heaven cannot
heat
fill
packs in her hand because it
me.
was like -25 or
My
like
soul is just too deep. It's the shape of me. I'm a container.
So for this session, we recorded everything like analogically. You know, a lot of the one of the things about the national parks is that you cannot have noise pollution. Like you cannot blast a speaker in a national park. You cannot bring a drum set and like rock out. So the curation line is very important for us. This is why we use like a lot of like electronic based music that goes everything through like headphones, or you know, someone just playing a guitar like they're just having fun in the park. And of course with a little bit of more of sound gear for it. So I'm gonna share you our like a presentation that I have for today. I cannot make it full screen for some reason, but I will try. So as I mentioned, Interlive, this is our one of our videographers, Valérie Lacroix. Our team is it's from Quebec, but also very diverse. Like I am from Ecuador, and a few other, you know, professionals that I met are also, you know, a lot of people that are coming internationally and are like residents of Quebec or Canada, a lot of Ecuadorians, a lot of like, you know, talented young videographers and producers. So as I mentioned, we're an organization at the intersection of arts and ecology. We produce a live music sessions shot in the wild that directly contributes to the climate emergency. What I already mentioned, each of our shows plant 500 trees through the NGO One Tree Planted that is our main partner for this first pilot. Some of the sessions that I mentioned, as well as our contribution to this particular campaign in British Columbia. And last November, there is an organization from the UK that awarded us as best initiative using music to support environmental sustainability. And this year, we're also being nominated for the Live Music Awards in Toronto the first week of May. Which is a little crazy for us because like other companies there are like Live Nation, Solotech that has, you know, have a lot of relevance in the cultural landscape of Canada, and these like little initiative made by like everyday people. But we've been blessed with different organizations that have partnered with us, have presented this in their digital platforms, have allowed us to, you know, like get this message out to more audiences like Mutech, Composite, Pop Montreal. She Said So. She Said So is an organization championing women in music. And our team just happens to be like, it wasn't really planned, but it's like 90% women and women of color. So we are here, but it's difficult. Like arts and culture is already an industry with a lot of competition. It's hard to like maintain sustainability because this is a topic that I mention a lot. Like the first sustainable thing ever is for us to have a roof over our heads and food on our table. So for us to finance this project, it's already like a whole mission for sustainability. But we are still, you know, projecting and having like amazing different partners. Like for instance, today here, like bringing this to the attention of the Ontario community is a way for us to also, you know, get our message further and further. As I mentioned, we record everything in Canadian national parks, even though we have also done it in private property. The thing is that sometimes, or like there are drone permits, there's a few things that we need to take in consideration once we go out in nature. So there were a few episodes that we recorded in private owned land that we found that there are pros and cons to being in, you know, a government protected area and a civilian protected area. So as of now, we just operated in Quebec and Ontario. But of course, our goal would be to shoot some of these in like Nunavut or like the Northern Territories. It would be like a total absolute dream. So this is a new project that is not ready, but I'm gonna share it here just for this intervention, and is our 2024-2025 residence program. So as we love, going into a frozen lake on -30 and record a live music performance, we also realized that it would be interesting to work on creation. And not only, I've seen a lot of the problematics in the music industry that, from, gender parity to like minority representation. It's always on the live side of things. It's always like on the lineup of a festival. It's always like, but we don't talk much about that problematic behind scenes, like on music production, music songwriting, like where is the climate action, ecology, and sustainability, not only in the performative world, but a little bit inside of the academic side of things, the behind the scenes. So we decided to launch a new residency program that it's actually 3 different residencies in which we go into one of these facilities in northern Quebec. This is not AI. These are actual houses that exist in northern Quebec in the region of Tremblant. So what we will do this fall and winter is we're gonna set up different studios here to run a residency in which the artist can like stay in the forest, can like, at the same time also receive different workshops and master classes from different mentors, both in technology, music innovation, and eco-responsibility, sustainability, and climate action. Because the artists are not professionals. I mean, artists in general, just to generalize, are professionals in art, are professionals in performative art, music, digital media art, whatever their medium is, but not necessarily all of them have a sustainable, environmental mentality. So what we try to provide is like in this creation process, in this creation residency, the opportunity for them to be exposed to this knowledge and also create works that would also have an climate impact. So far, we're trying to work with different organizations in Quebec and Canada, in Northern Turtle Island, that are tackling directly with communities and indigenous communities here, protecting land and water. And another very interesting initiative that we're exploring is also the ocean, and the oceans of the east of Quebec. So we're trying to see if in the region of Gaspésie, because there's a lot of also scientific research from the University of Toronto, University of Laval, and in La Ville de Quebec, McGill, and Concordia. In the more the academic program, we're also looking into oceans and the problematic of oceans and how these residencies can impact oceans, in which we can create immersive and sound art for this. So that's pretty much us and what we do. I'm gonna go back to our Zoom call. Oh, I'm still here. Oh, for a
Yeah.
moment I was I closed the meeting. I was like, oh, I've been talking for half an hour by myself.
No, you're still here, but that was so great. Thank you so much
Uh,
for sharing.
Thank you, Michelena. I was very lucky to meet Michelena at the Ecolab here in La Salle. We participated the first year and represented this project on 2021 when it was just an idea.
Hmm.
So it was very, very, encouraging to see other organizations like Climate Reality also being part of this and supporting this. And yes, full circle moment, absolutely.
Yeah, we were in a dome as well, so very circular indeed. No, but
Yeah. Yeah, so, and the idea is also to start creating immersive work that is like for dome, that it's not only in music, but also in different digital art that can reach out different audiences. So, yes, that's us. I'm gonna share you my email in case you want to reach out and be in contact, but also everything is on our website. This
yeah.
presentation that I shared with you is under the partnerships. So if you want to explore, if you want to reach out to us and see how we can collaborate, we're super open to it. We believe that like music and culture need to work as a block. It's very, very hard to work on this field by ourselves. It's very important to rely on community. And yes, it's a
Yeah.
pleasure to give this presentation. If you have questions, I would love for us to like, share also knowledge about what you're doing in your region, in your territory. And of course, if there's anything that we can do to support you, we're always here.
Yeah. Any additional, yeah. Guy or Guy, feel free to go first.
I just wanted, thanks, Stephen, for sharing that. It's been something that I've thought that is completely missing from the climate movement is art, and especially music. And watching what your presentation there, I wonder if we could, if you've ever given any consideration to having an artist could be available for something like a folk festival. And I think about that here in Peterborough. We have a folk festival every year. It's probably too late to arrange something for this year, but maybe for next summer. Do you think it makes sense to find some artist in your group who would be willing to and able to come to something like that?
Absolutely. We have one of our biggest episodes. It's by an artist, a folk artist from Quebec called Safia Nolan. I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she is incredible, amazing folk artist from Quebec. And yes, absolutely. I would love to participate. Let's chat on it. We I'm gonna share one more thing that I forgot, but we are participating in different festivals, not only presenting our model, but also we did this this collaboration with DJs for Climate Action. Sorry, last year, and it was at Osmo. This is DJ for Climate Action is a New York company, and we invited different artists to this festival so they can present different proposals in eco-responsibility in music. So Iman Hamar from like the Lasat from Ecolab that I was just talking about was there. And we actually did a very interesting talk with someone from BC, from Black Indigenous Liberation Movement, about Indigenous Food Systems Initiative and sustainable food systems, which was beautiful. I think, these opportunities of being in festivals, showcasing artists and showcasing different professionals, it's a great way to communicate, and we would love to visit your festival for sure.
So I think maybe the best thing to do is for me to put you somehow in touch with the people who are the organizers of the Peterborough Folk Festival. Does that make sense? Because I'll just get in the way if I try to negotiate something in between. I can just say, here they are, see if you can make something work.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Janet.
Yeah, so I had some of the same thoughts as Guy. So out in Lanark County, we have Blue Skies Music Festival. But we also have, in my little hamlet of Elphin, 2 Juno Award folk singers, David Francie and Jenny Wheatley. And Jenny holds an in-residence annual training session. Like it's a residence program that she holds. And so when I saw your idea, I thought, oh, possible, exchanges, right? So the same request is key, right? Because what I would do is I would bring your information to them and then you know, ask them to correspond with you, and you never know what transpires.
That would be amazing. And thank you so much, Janet. As I said, I really believe in collaboration, and I think these initiatives and like the fact that Michelina invited me to speak today with all of you is also for me to get feedback on where you're at, what's happening in like your towns and your territories and regions. So, one of the residencies that we're doing, we have 3 different residencies. One is in immersive art, more like digital creativity. One is in music production and field recording. So we want to like go out in nature and do like field recordings, and with that we can create a like experimental piece. And the third one is songwriting. And songwriting, like there's a lot of like songwriting camps that like SOCAN does, that they bring like, I don't know, like 10 artists into a house, and you know, they spend a week, and but it will be the same idea, but under this concept. And folk artists are like the best for that, and like folk festivals are like the best, I would say, songwriters available in that specific genre, because we will also do one that it's like very, very geeky sound art, you know. And but I feel that songwriting is something that is so powerful. Like these songs have a lot of stories, and like in these stories, you know, folk was one of the first genres that like really stood up against inequality. So yes, absolutely, please let's connect. This is why we're here.
Yeah, that just reminds me of something else. So Neil Young is touring this summer, and he's doing an Eco Love Village, a 2-hour event right before each of his concerts, for local nonprofits, as well, to like table and like learn more about like environmental initiatives. So it's really cool. There's one happening in Ottawa, so those are the dates. One in Ottawa and one in London. So feel free to check those out as well. I think that's definitely a cool way to talk about the intersection between music and environmentalism, and how we can, you know, green the music space in a way. So yeah, I just wanted to share that as well with the people on this call if they're in those areas.
There's another organization also by Brian Eno that is called Earth%. That it's also, I think they're based in the UK, but they're very interesting as well, and they're more from like the ambient folks. But yeah, it's a very interesting initiative that is like champion, like you know, promoting like each festival donate a 1% of their income to like different like climate organizations. And in Canada there's a few. There's also the Music Declares Emergency program that is also based on the UK, but there's a version here in Canada by Kim Fry. I think she's in Toronto. But yeah, like I will, yeah. So you have a question, I hope.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I just was reading actually about the Brian Eno initiative, and that campaign has just done something really cool in, I guess, like kind of like that legal music landscape where yeah, so as you said, he's an ambient artist, and as with like ambient music, but also with like a lot of just different genres, you can like add samples to any kind of recording. And they've somehow like legally given nature like an artist like personhood or something like that, where it allows for like, now if you've sampled nature in your audio, it like allows nature to like collect royalties. And so they've like now like legally made a pathway to be able to fund like this org, or I don't actually know exactly like what who's collecting the nature fund, but it has something to do with Brian Eno's org, and they've obviously created that pathway. So it's just like a cool little thing that I just heard about that I wanted to share about this.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing. I heard a little bit of about that as well. And yeah, of course, like collecting royalties and using those royalties from an artist with like such a big name as Brian Eno, it's a great way of also like supporting you know, the environment. And I think like for all of us, like people that are not Brian Eno and like don't have that power, I think sometimes is you know, we rely on each other. Like seriously, this project was done with my best friends and like 5 other people that really believed in it. And it's that human, you know, sharing, knowledge sharing what is happening right now in this room. Um it is that's the change, right? Like I feel we we carry this flag in like our everyday life and like our relationships, and in the land acknowledgement that you shared also, you talked about all our relationships. And I find that that's very important, you know, like keeping this outside of the, and that's why we're trying to do the residency, because yes, at the forefront of like live shows, you can see when you go to a festival, you have like recycle here and this and that, but we don't know what happens like on a Monday, on a random February Monday. Like, do we actually are also working on this, on those spaces? So I think it's very important for like, you know, when we see these initiatives that are so powerful and so inspiring, also know that our little actions are also super inspiring and very powerful. So
Stephen, I would rather have you here than Neil Young or Brian Eno. So any day.
thank you so much. You're so sweet. I would love to come for sure.
We'll make it happen, Stephen.
Yes.
Any other questions? Comments? Ideas?
Oh la la. I'm having so much trouble with my computer today.
So can somebody send an email to both me and Stephen getting us connected together? I don't know if it's you,
Yeah,
Hope,
for
or
sure.
you,
I can do
Michelina,
that.
or
Yeah.
whoever it is. Just please send it, and I'll try and make it. Try and make something happen here in a little old Peterborough.
Here is my email. Can also reach out to me on my website, which is like also there's my our work, my personal work in industry development, but it's also my work in the climate action and music. And I reply to all of my emails. Sometimes like I would get a little bit of time, but I'm always getting back to all of you. So
Yeah. There's another hand. We don't see your name because your name says Climate Reality Leader. Feel free to also rename yourself if you want, but go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. You know
That's
what?
okay.
I don't even know why my name said that, but it's Monacy. Thank you for the presentation. That was really, really cool. I'm the one that had to pick up my daughter from dance class. So there you go. So I had a couple thoughts actually while you were talking and presenting. I think your concept is really interesting. I would actually be more than happy to connect you. So we do a lot of work with the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business. My work does. And so I'd be more than happy to connect you with someone there because they have, they are very well connected with a lot of Indigenous artists across Canada. So I think that might be an interesting opportunity or connection for you, because I did mention that you had were interested in working with Indigenous communities as well. And Indigenous communities are the ones that are very much impacted by climate change in our country. So happy to do that. And then the second piece was, I think that somewhere down the line, like I go to concerts all the time, but I've always wondered what the carbon footprint of a concert is. And so I think that would be a really cool concept with your, music and nature combination. If there was like a guidebook or something that you could create for artists on how to, be an artist and perform while at the same time doing it in a sustainable way. I think that would be a cool concept. So I just wanted to share those two things.
You're muted, Stephen.
So sorry. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's actually pretty on the top. I'm gonna share so DJs for Climate Action, they have a study on the carbon footprint. And of course this can be translated to not only oh, I think I'm just sharing it to Hope. Thank you so much for resharing and reposting. Um um they are promoting local acts to like not jump on planes if it's not super necessary, and like by that also foster and champion a little bit of the local communities of each territory. So like for instance what they are doing is they are providing with different resources. If you go to that site that Hope shared, djsforclimateaction.com, they have a manual for venues, promoters, and artists on how to lower their carbon footprint at events. So one of them is like sustainable traveling. And another one is, asking also the venues, Vaigi, asking the venues to, for instance, not sell reusable plastic, like, sorry, to not sell plastic at all. And there is a whole list of different initiatives that we can do. Of course, this is not like, this is just how it works for them, especially like in the DJ world. But I think this can be replicated to all of the different, aspects of art in general. There's another organization here. I don't know if you saw them, Michelina, but there's the En Tournée Vert. They're from the Telefilm and the Canadian Cinema Association. And they did a whole conference on how cinema, when they shoot a film, there's like a very, very huge like carbon footprint impact. So they're working on this study on how to make, the film industry, like green the film industry as well. So there's a few resources. I'll be happy to share them with you. And regarding contacting some, organizations led by indigenous communities, absolutely. This is what we're looking for. Actually, I'll be in Toronto the second week of June at the International Indigenous Music Summit that it's happening for their 5th edition, I believe. Because they also will be one of our mentors. As you mentioned, absolutely, who is at the forefront of climate action is indigenous communities, and especially women. So we want to bring some elders to be one of our mentors and trainers of this cohort of artists. So maybe artists that are not necessarily indigenous can also learn from the people that are at the forefront of this, and also our climate actions to go towards those hands. So please, I am always open to speak with them. I spoke with Alan Gray Eyes also from the Indigenous Music Alliance that just started this year, I believe. And I am a new settler here. I moved here 4 years ago from Ecuador, so I'm always happy to know and to meet like-minded folks that are also at the forefront of this problematic that is affecting us all. And yes, please do so. My email is in the chat, and I would love to connect. Thank you.
Yeah, we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago about kind of the intersection of film and climate. And I think hopefully next community call, we're gonna have someone come and talk about that specifically. So that'll be really cool. I think it needs to be more incorporated. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it seems like these calls are going increasingly towards the art direction. And I think, I mean, like you was saying before, is like, it's a nice way to connect with people on like more of that cultural level, but bringing these like larger issues to the forefront there. I always like to use the example of the Guelph. It's like a Guelph festival, a music festival called Hillside. I went to it for the first, well, actually I went when I was a kid because my dad's from Guelph, but then I went as like an adult a few years ago, and I was really blown away by the organization of it all. It has been zero waste ever since it really began, and it's been around for like 20 plus years, maybe honestly more probably. And it's a really great example of how a festival can be like obviously like just a great opportunity to showcase music and new talent, and there's like always amazing artists from across the country and like across the world even who come, but it's also an opportunity for the community to really like get involved. And so the way it works is the way that the zero waste works is it's almost like camp where everybody gets like a little plastic plate that has like the little sections on it. And so all the food vendors are like usually local food vendors, and then they have like a stack of plates ready to go. And then toward like once you're finished, it's like there's a station, and you scrape your own plate, and then there's a little tray that holds all of the plates, and then all the volunteers, there's roles for all the volunteers, and one of those is to do your dishes. And so there's a whole dishwashing station, and usually it's like teenagers of the town. It's like a rite of passage as a teenager to volunteer at Hillside, because when you volunteer, you get a free ticket. And so you can be there all weekend long. You camp out. It's like, the Hillside parties like after dark or like a whole other thing. But then it allows like kids to then be involved in the festival, have a good time, but then also ultimately you have a zero waste festival. And it's such a family friendly event. It's such a like it's just like it's very cool, and in the way that it seems really seamless. Obviously it's been done for years and years and years, so it seems people, any kind of kinks have been worked out as well. But I was just really impressed when I went, and this was kind of like zero waste before it became more on people's minds too. So obviously it is much smaller of a scale than like a very, very large festival, say. Like it still is a smaller festival, but it shows that things are possible, and if you get the community involved, always many hands make light work. So I think I always like thinking about that as a cool inspirational story. And I think it's a small town in Southern Ontario, so unless you know about it, it's hard to actually like you might not know about it actually. So
Yeah, Blue Skies is actually in a forest. They have a forest lot, and yeah, it's an owner who, I mean, they've been doing it for 20 years, and it's like that. They just had the people put their name in for draws for the overnight passes, to be able to get passes to actually stay on site. So all these emails are coming up. I got my passes. Oh, I didn't get them. So then you have to negotiate with other people. As people have been going for years and years, so it's next generations that are going. And I think, given what we've just seen and, what you've shared with us, Stephen, the more isolated areas, right? It's, you can really set yourself up. But, in an urban setting could be as well. I think of Blue Skies when they used to bring in, groups from Cuba when they weren't bringing groups from Cuba. And, groups like, I had to mention the name Sisa Picari from Ecuador, because this is like 20 years ago. Do you know those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were all friends because I met them through environmental groups and had conversations. 1995, right? They were just coming to Canada, and then they've become citizens now, right? So over time, so many, many people that you're part of the path. That music.
Yeah, I find that like so inspiring as well, and I think it's very important to like know and also pay homage to like, we didn't really invented this. Like this has been happening, going on for a long time, and to find peers from different generations, like I cannot imagine what like future generations are gonna have to face. And also, the more there is a register of this, the more there is, organizations like Climate Reality that is like, doing the work also in the academic field. Um, because yeah, I was actually listening to a Conseil des Arts, Canada Arts Council, Zoom talk, and they were talking about their budgets, right? So it's like, oh, the budget of 2024. And in that call, they said something that really stuck with me. And they said, we're living in a poly-crisis moment. There's economical crisis, there's war, there's the environmental crisis, there's a humanitarian crisis. Like the world hasn't been as bad as it is right now in a long time, and or maybe ever. So it is very important for us to like track down what's happening, like share this information from like previous generations and up to like the future generations also. So like to know that this work that you did with them, and like also like Ecuadorians have always been very fierce in protecting land and water. Like we really come from a
Yep.
place we had to like struggle with like the exploitation of.
And I don't know if you know, but a couple of years ago, a Climate Reality Project had a training, Latin American training. I got my Climate Reality Leadership through them. And there are quite a number of really interesting people in Ecuador that are involved with climate reality. And also people that have taken the Pachamama Alliance course. Do you know that program, Pachamama
We have
Alliance?
Pachamama Alliance with Belen.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Yeah.
they have a lot of ties with indigenous leaders in
And
Ecuador and
Amazon
Peru.
Frontlines. They also work with Amazon Frontlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Belen very, very well. She was the first one who financed a festival in Ecuador. Like I went to the Pachamama Alliance. They closed for a couple of years because the government shut them down. And
In Ecuador.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that part. So I've been with the program for 4 years
Yeah, they
now.
went to protest and like it just became like a media thing. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but they're back, and they're still standing. There's Yasunidos also that are working in the Yasuni region, Amazon Frontlines, Black Indigenous Liberation Movement that is based in also British Columbia. Their headquarters are in Ecuador,
Mhm.
in
And there's a lot
Agualita.
of work. I heard a couple of years ago, a lot of work on water rights. So they're presenting at international tribunals that happen in France on water rights in Ecuador.
Yes, I mean it is a fine line, because sometimes, I mean, not to just like talk about like controversial government things, like who is on whose favor. But it's been conflictive. It's been something that uh is very similar to the pipeline here, right? So at the end of the day, it's these organizations that stand up to the giants and have to go to like COP26, have to go to the United Nations. But even though, look, those results are quite impressive, it's a real struggle. So it's kind of bittersweet, in the sense like, when these works are being reached, different, climate summits around the world, and it seems like, there was they gave the environment like constitutional rights. I remember like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Um, and like the law passed, and then at the end of the day the government switched, and that it didn't happen. So it's complicated. It's a complicated fight. And then again, that's where I come from, like to our everyday life, right? Is like, how are we being sustainable, being, true to mother nature in our modern lives? Like right now we're all FaceTiming on titanium laptops, probably, you know, exploited from, you know, Congo or, you know, so it's kind of like a debate on like how much can we do, how much can we share knowledge in a modern society that is in a way collapsing. So I think our little initiatives and all of these that you're sharing with me today and with us in this group is it's super important, because like that knowledge sharing, in a way, it's what will, you know, be the motor for us to like do new initiatives, collaborate together. You know, maybe what I shared with you, you will carry it along, and what you shared with me, I will also keep. I have all new tabs in my never-ending tabs, Google Chrome here with resources from Hillside Festival to like a bunch of other stuff that you shared. So I'm really grateful to be here and like share this knowledge and have that feedback from you too.
We're always taken away by the connections that happen in different ways and spaces during these calls.
Hmm.
You know, it's we think, oh well, you know, we bring in somebody, and then just the kind of things that come up and what people take away.
Yeah, this has been really great. Learning so much about Ontario that I didn't even know, even though I grew up there. All these cool music festivals. I would have known, I would have volunteered as a kid.
Well, I think they're starting in July, so maybe we can go.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. I just shared again my contact, and yeah, I'm always here
Yeah,
you
because we have like the formal festivals, but there's also things like small halls in Ontario. And so they do, you know, and so that's another program. It starts like now, and then festivals come, and then they do them in the fall, right?
Mhm.
So there's a possibility for other kinds of things, because music doesn't just stop August 31st,
Of course.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
It's one of
Yeah.
the things I love about Montreal so much is all the festivals, and they're all free, which is really nice. And I feel like Ontario, at least Toronto, I'm not going to speak for all Ontario, but Toronto doesn't have a lot of free festivals, in my opinion, at least from my experience. And it just, yeah, makes it more accessible and enjoyable. It's
yeah, the prices have gone up. Ontario, I think, is like it's a different framework, right? It's a different legal framework than Quebec, and you go over
very
the border.
true.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts or questions at all?
So I just want to share with Guy Hachette, who was here from Peterborough. He talked about the Peterborough Folk Festival. They have an extraordinary, it's a monthly call. And I just said hi to him on the chat, and he said, oh, and I think it was this week, they had one on collaboration with local groups. So he's coming in with all these ideas from that conversation. And so I'm going to share that, Michelina, in my next newsletter, because I have all the links and everything he's gave me. And because from time to time, as you know, I sit in his meetings. So Jennifer, that's a really great group too. They're called 4RG, literally the letter, you know, number 4RG. And it's for our grandchildren. And so he's coming in with ideas, and he's gaining ideas, right? And so he's one of the founders of that group. And so hope I'm still on the little path there to formally redeclare him being a community hub, because they were a hub, and they actually are the hub on the website. That's where everybody links up to them, but to formally declare, because we'll get it on their website one day. Yeah, so I was happy to see him here.
It's really exciting. Yeah, he seemed very excited about this initiative, and I was really happy. I don't think that's the first time we've met. But that's so great. I love when these calls like make so many connections. That's probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
Well, maybe on that note, this is a nice time to close and ponder on all of our reflections and make sure to look at all of our tabs that are open. I love that. I love the question of how many tabs have you opened now by the end of a call. But yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful evening, a lovely long weekend if you get the Monday off. Here in Halifax, I'm just looking at my window. There's a beautiful pink sunset
And I do
that's
want to
arriving.
say
So
something before you go. So, you know, Jennifer, you may have just met Hope, but Hope is moving on. She's going back to school. So we'll soon see somebody else. We don't know who the somebody else is, or maybe they do, but we're going to be introduced to the somebody in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, this is Hope's last community call, but thank you so much, Hope, for also organizing these most of the time. You've done a lovely job, and we'll have to meet your standards for the next one.
well, maybe I'll still join every once in a while. I am a climate reality leader, so I'll get your emails and I'll join every once in a bit. And yeah, because I love these connections and I want my tabs to stay open. So yeah, well, thanks, Janet.
But
And
you'll
yeah,
be in a different region. You won't be connected to Ontario unless we invite you.
I'll invite her.
oh,
She's from
Imagine.
Ontario.
that's true. Right?
Yeah, you'll meet a new group.
Well, I'm not even in Ontario now, so I get to be here still. Rite of passage.
Me
So
either.
alumnus experience. Anyway, have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. I hope you have a weekend full of music and nature and a good start to spring. So yeah, with that, I hope you have a great rest of your night. So long.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for coming.
Bye, good night. Nice meeting you, Stephen. Nice seeing you, Jennifer, again.
Stay in touch. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.